Hey, it's Friday. This is Blair and Barker. Friday, August 2nd. Blue Jays and Yankees, first of three games tonight. 7:05 first pitch at Yankee Stadium. Jack Curry, Yankees analyst on the Yes Network, joins us at 4:30 to contemplate the Yankees. Jazz Chisholm, I guess, making his Yankee Stadium debut tonight for the Yankees. The back leg line, it is a Friday. It is open, 416-413-3959. Leave us a voice message. If we like it, we'll get to it. Name and location, please. You got that look in your face. Bob Nightengale, the national MLB writer with USA Today, will be along at 5:30. And in a few minutes, we will be joined live from Yankee Stadium by John Schneider, the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. Ahead of, as I mentioned, this three-game series, 53 games left in the regular season. We'll find out from the skipper, Kevin, what he needs to see from this team the rest of the year. Ryan Yarbrough, who, of course, was acquired from the L.A. Dodgers for Kevin Kiermaier, has joined the team. We've not seen the Jays lineup yet. Kevin, how do you think Ryan Yarbrough will be used by the Blue Jays? And, given the fact that he is a guy with a bit of a track record. Mm-hmm. He's a free agent at the end of the year. But I understand when you make that deal, you have make weights, right? We're going to give you a little bit of money. We got to take a little bit of money back. What do you want? I mean, Ryan Yarbrough doesn't really fit into the Dodgers' plans. Okay, we need arms. Do you see any way Ryan Yarbrough figures into the picture for the Blue Jays next year?
Yeah, I wouldn't see why not. I mean, I would think they got to figure out, is Bowden Francis going to start or come out of the pen? Would you rather have Ryan do that or Bowden do that? Or, how many more innings does Yariel Rodriguez have? Like a guy like, Ryan has some good things to add when it comes to just what your organization is trying to do, what they're trying to figure out. No, he hadn't. I mean, he's a pain in the tail trying to hit. Like, let's be honest, like that. That thing he throws, the cutting and the location of that thing and where you're trying to have to hit it. Yeah, look, why not? He's cheap, right? I mean, how many times have you said they're going to need cheap people to fill in roles? Well, next year I would think that they got 2 or 3 or 4 guys that are going to be fighting for the number 5 spot. So, yeah, and they're, I would think going forward, they're going to be looking for extra arms to eat some innings because you really don't know what you're going to get from the big three. The big three's getting older. Mm-hmm. So going into the season, they're going to have to get hot and stay hot for a long period of time if they think they have a chance of making the playoffs or trying to win the American League East. So, yeah, I mean, the Ryans of the world who've been around forever, who know how to pitch in the American League East, don't come around every day. I know he doesn't throw very hard, but still knows how to add and subtract, knows how to get a righty out. He can give you some innings. Yeah, absolutely.
The Yankees lineup tonight.
But it does make too much sense, Jeff.
Yeah. The Yankees lineup tonight is as follows. Alex Verdugo leading off, Juan Soto in right, Aaron Judge in center. Austin Wells is behind the plate. Giancarlo Stanton is DHing. Jazz Chisholm is at third base. Gleyber Torres is at second base. Ben Rice is at first base. Anthony Volpe is the shortstop. Marcus Stroman gets the start on the mound for the Blue Jays against Kevin Gausman. We talked about wanting to see this from this Blue Jays player down the stretch, that from that Blue Jays player down the stretch. We know that Kevin Gausman and Jose Barrios and Chris Bassett are all under contract through next year, but let's focus in particular on Kevin Gausman. He's 9-8, got a 4.44 ERA. What do you want to see from Kevin Gausman the rest of the way?
Yeah, I think the consistent velocity is a big deal. Bottom of the zone, I think, is a big deal. Sometimes for me anyway, he tries to pitch up too much. When you have the variance in the velocity, that's very hard to do. The split finger, I believe, when you're throwing the fastball off the split finger at the knees, it's hard to tell the difference. You'll tend to get a few more swing and misses off of those two pitches because of where they're located. And then you can be a little bit more unpredictable with the sinker when it comes to, the count and the location, which is a big deal. He wants to sprinkle that in. He don't want to abuse that thing. Bottom of the zone will help that sinker be that much better and be a little bit more unpredictable. So that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to just see consistent velocity, a little bit better command of the bottom of the zone, and some more sinkers. It's obvious that he has to throw that because he don't think his split finger is split in the way he wants it to split. And to keep it out of the middle of the zone, sometimes you got to add a little something, which is a little bit, more of a fastball that moves both sides of the plate, be unpredictable with the counts. And like I said, with the location, we'll make those 3 pitches better, which will get more swing and miss, which he's had a tough time. They must be able to see the split finger a little bit better. So that's why I think bottom of the zone is important for him. Well, we'll ask John. The 4 starts he's had in July has been really good, and I do believe it's because he's been better at keeping it out of the middle of the zone, and the bottom of the strike zone has been much better in those 4 starts in July.
Now he's coming off his second complete game of the season in his last start.
118 pitches.
118 pitches is a lot. What will you be looking for, or is it possible, Kevin, to determine early in a game whether or not there's any lingering impacts of that, or is that something that probably won't manifest itself until the 3rd, 4th inning?
Yeah, I think it's awfully late in the season. I think he should be used to throwing and just the rhythm and timing.
No red flags for you then?
So.
No extra red flags beyond what constitutes a red flag for any Kevin Gausman
what he
start.
went through early in the season, the time he missed, and there should be some more bullets left in that arm. I think that's at least why they gave him an opportunity to have a complete game. So I just don't think there's, he's an old enough guy to know that, you just got to have a good pen. He has a good pen, get in the groove, have the good timing of the release point. Like I said, I just think the bottom of the zone is very important for him. Seems like when he's going well and, I think he wants to get swing and miss after establishing the ball down and getting some called strikes down there, getting them in swing mode, and that's how he'll get some more swing and misses on the elevated fastball. So, yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I know, again, it's all about velocity with him because of only the 2 pitches and sprinkling in the 2-seamer. But, yeah, I don't think there should be a big deal here. And, again, it's Yankee Stadium. He's got 10 more starts.
He's been much better on the road, though, than he's been at home this year. And I
wouldn't read too much into that.
I don't know if that's a product of opponent or, really. I'm just looking.
Could be, you have a little bit better chance, I think, at home of overthinking it because all the stuff that you have that you can go to, and I'm sure he's watched all kinds of video trying to figure it out and trying to get the consistent velocity. And
he's had a nice July. He had a 3.45 ERA, 1.01 WHIP.
Well, remember too,
and he threw a splitter a lot more.
Yeah. Well, remember too, he's made a mechanical change by having the little, the bent upper half a little bit more. I still don't really understand that because that drops your arm slot. But, it seems to be better consistency with just the velocities and the tunneling of the split finger. And the split finger tends to have a little bit more break when he's bent at the upper half, a little bit more than he had been. Straight up and down, I just think when you get a little older, that means you're getting lazy, right? You get older, things hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. And he's thrown a bazillion pitches. So, just sort of try to go back to what you used to do and be consistent with the release point, have that consistent velocity. So if you do miss one down the middle, at least you got a decent chance of them not putting that in play hard. So I think they've caught on to something here. I think now they have a something that they can lean on, that they know that if he's like this mechanically, if Petey's standing over there going, he looks like that before he releases the ball, everything should be a go and he should have a good day. So Wes John got about Kevin, but I think he's figured it out. So hopefully he does that against the Yankees.
I mean, look, when Kevin Gausman came over here, I'm sure he came over here with the idea that this team was going to be contending. Obviously he came over for money in the contract, but I'm sure he came.
Gave him a lot of it
with the idea that it was going to contend. I can ask you this: would you think harder for an established pitcher playing out the string, or harder for an established hitter playing out the string?
Yeah, if it was me, I wouldn't want to hear that. Again, you pay them to do a job. Like they're here, they play 6 months a year.
Right.
Like sometimes teams just going to have bad years where it just don't work out. Like this year, pitching staff giving up a bunch of homers and nobody's hitting homers. Like that adds up to you being in last place and you not making the playoffs and them dumping what they needed to dump at the trade deadline. But we, as an organization and as a coaching staff, expect you, because they paid you a bunch of money, to go out there, whether it's every 5 days, whether it's out of the pen, whether it's if you're an everyday player, and give it your all because you play 6 months a year. And if you don't, they got more issues with that. So I just don't think that should never be hard for anybody. Like you're playing a game for a ton of money. Right. Suck it up, go out there and throw it and play it the way you're supposed to do it. And I'm sure that's what's happening. They're all decent dudes. So I don't read too much into the guy thing. Like, he's a good dude. But I think for the most part, the people that matter on this team, George is starting to be George again a little bit. And, the rotation seems at least like the last couple of turns other than Bassett have started to figure things out and getting people out they should be getting out.
We'll ask Jack Curry this, but we were talking a little bit before we came in the air. And, actually, let's get to John Schneider, the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. I wanted to ask you a question about the New York Yankees, but we'll
why would you ever pitch to the judge? That'd be my question.
There you go. First question to John Schneider. John, thank you very much for joining us today.
What's up? How you doing?
Good, thank you. Hey, before we get to some specific things, first question I just wanted to ask you: we've not seen a lineup yet. Is there anything special behind that, or just no?
No, nothing crazy. We're kind of just waiting to see on Kirky how he's feeling after getting hit by the pitch and ball. But yeah, nothing crazy.
Okay.
Normal guy getting run out there.
Okay. Now we're going to get specific in a few minutes, but I wanted to ask you: 53 games left. From a general point of view, what do you and the coaching staff want to see for these remaining 53 games?
I mean, you want to see guys going about it the right way, which is what they've been doing. I think starting with George and Vlad. Varsh, the starting pitchers, the guys that have been here, you want them to continue to go about it the right way. And then I think from that, taking a good look at Joey, see what he's like, like everything about him so far in the couple of days that he's been here from, skill set, person, kind of guy that he is, really easy to talk to and get along with. And you want guys to just continue to have the effort there. It's easy when you have good starting pitching. And it's just a chance for bullpen guys to kind of step up, So a lot of these games they've been close. The one in Baltimore kind of gets out of hand with one bad inning, but you want the effort to be there, and you're looking for guys, whether it's Spence playing second or Barge at third, kind of being in the right spot. There's going to be a little bit of growing pains as they go in these spots, and for us as coaches, it's just kind of continuing to teach, continuing to work. And put the best product out there.
You were talking about Joey. I've been traded before, and it was that little timid part between the coaches and the player of how you start the conversation. Like you see something maybe you'd like to see changed, or just something that's headed in the right direction. How long would it take the next 53 games for maybe you to walk up to Joey and whatever you're seeing, some adjustments, what you'd like to see it look like going into the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, we saw him quickly, with Houston, and you formulate a game plan how you get this guy out. And I think when we acquired him, there were definitely things that we thought we could help from an offensive standpoint to kind of continue to tap into that power that he does have. So we're going to give him some space, give him a little bit of time, and get comfortable. The last thing you want to do is bring someone in who you like, who's had success and we think is going to have a lot more success, and kind of overhaul him in the middle of the season. So there'll be some conversations with Donnie and G and Hunter and Maddie have already kind of started. And it'll take a little bit of time, I think, to get the work in and kind of get those relationships built. But there's definitely things that we've targeted from afar that we think can be, small changes that'll help him in a big way.
Yeah, last 7 days with Addison Barger, what have you seen you liked? I know he's made a little mechanical adjustment by widening out. I mean, that'll make that leg kick easier just to repeat. I think that's the whole thing with that, right? It's the wild swing, kind of trying to calm it down a little bit. Is there something you like? You think this is going to be a theme going forward that at least it gives him a chance to be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you look up and he's 5 at-bats into his big league career, and you're going to have to make adjustments, I think. So when he initially came back up this time, we told him, we want you to really focus on this part, get your work in and kind of change some things. And he's done great. His work has been really good, and it's obviously showing, being able to get to some heaters in, hit him with authority. I think it helps him control the zone a little bit more. But just, his last game in Baltimore, you look at the home run on the first pitch and then battles and hits a 2-strike double to left off a really tough pitcher in Rodriguez. So I think those adjustments are good for him. I think it just like you said, it gives him a more consistent chance to use that power.
John, how do you grade certain players like Loperfido, like Barger, like Schneider, like Clement, like Burr out of the pen,
Jimenez.
like Pop? Yeah, Jimenez. Is it just performance driven, or is it like you just mentioned? We give you a mechanical change you need to make. Let's see it sort of play out. How do you grade these guys going forward for the next 53 games?
Yeah, I mean, it's performance. It's not going to be perfect, but at this level, you got to perform. So there's again, I think the big changes happen in the offseason. So some small changes, like for Leo, it's playing every day. It's learning how to grind and play major league shortstop every day. I've been really impressed with him, both in the box and in the field. Just kind of his clock, his tempo. And I think for all these guys, the number one thing is seeing how they go about it every single day. And then the performance, you're going to be graded on performance, whether you like it or not, whether you're young or whether you're a veteran. That's kind of what it comes down to. And from that, it's okay, what can we change? What do we need to continue to work on? What can we continue to do that is going well? So it's a lot, but performance always is the end all be all at this level, So the work has been good, and within the performance, you kind of make it, then take the next step and say, okay, here's the things we need to continue to do.
John, you mentioned Leo Jimenez. Do we have an update on Bo Bichette? Is there any time frame for Bo to get back in? And you've got Jimenez. Kevin mentioned all those players. You've also, I would presume, we're probably going to see Will Wagner at some point. Maybe Clase. I understand these things tend to take care of themselves remarkably, but how are you going to go about getting everybody playing time once a guy like Bo gets back?
Yeah, I mean, when Bo, don't have a definitive update or a timetable on Bo. He's still working in Florida and getting that calf right. So we're probably at least a week away from seeing a time frame in place. But when he comes back, he's going to play. Obviously, he goes right back at shortstop. And I think from there, when some of these other guys do come up, whether it's Clase or Wagner, you kind of you got to move some people around. There's definitely guys that take priority, and there's roster moves to be made too, I think, and a few guys that are here that we want to see other guys come in and get some reps here. So it does kind of work itself out. But I think when Bo comes back, you could see Leo at second a little bit. Maybe even a little bit of third, and you kind of shuffle the outfield around with Schneid. You got Joey and Barger bring out there. So, I think Barger kind of sees a little bit more time at third, things like that. So it does work itself out. The main one we're thinking about, obviously, is when Bo gets back, and that'll be, a couple of weeks at least. And then he just slides right back into short. And then from there, you kind of try to put the guys in the best spot.
Where does this Vladdy rank in the Vladdys that you've seen in the past?
Pretty high, man. I mean, it's pretty close to 2021. It's he's confident, and he's got a really good plan. It's been cool to watch, kind of just watch this evolution of Vladdy this year. And understanding how he's being pitched, understanding how he's being pitched with people around him now a little bit, and how people are being careful with him, and him understanding that and not getting too crazy in the strike zone. So it's been really, really fun to watch him over the past month or so. I mean, hitting the ball extremely hard. And the biggest thing is mistakes that are in the middle, he's hitting them out. Early in the year, he was hitting them, but he wasn't hitting them out. So I think when you look back to 2021, the 48 homers come on mistakes, most of them at least. And I think just in the last month, 3 weeks, he's been on an unbelievable tear. And it's just when you put talent right together with a plan and confidence, he's in a great spot.
John, it's the 9 homers he's hit out of the 21 up the middle the other way. I think it's the most impressive part. Like that, it sort of went away the last couple of years. Just when he gets it, he misses a little bit. Now it's going out, like you just mentioned. Why do you think that he's allowed now or capable of hitting home runs the other way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's some of it's mechanical. It's getting synced up with his toe tap and his barrel and all that kind of stuff. The home runs he hit in Baltimore, the one to center looked like a freaking 1-iron. Like no one hits balls like that out to dead center. And then he kind of mishit the one to right. and still got it, So I think when his mechanics are clean and he is just a tick early with everything that he's doing and he's recognizing the pitch, that's kind of where he was the whole 2021 season, So I think that's the difference. He's so damn strong and he hits the ball so hard. When he's on time, he can just do things that other people can't. And I think that's what he was fighting, at times this year and in years past. Just getting everything synced up in the right way. And he's, again, the work that goes into it behind the scenes has been awesome, and kind of landing at this spot that's kind of the results that you expect.
Yeah, I think the last 53 games, you got to figure out what you got going in the offseason. That guy for me starts with Kirky. How do you find out if Kirky can, say, catch 5 days a week without basically killing Kirky? Like, how do you do it?
You do it. You put him out there.
Yeah.
And, he did a fine job last year when Jano got hurt kind of down the stretch. Was it his best version of himself? Probably not, but it's an opportunity for him. He gets it. You look up in the last couple of years, you've traded a couple catchers. It's like, okay, here you go. So he's got to take kind of the bull by the horns a little bit and say, okay, what do I need to do to be ready to play most days? We've had those conversations, we've had those conversations with him before, and we've definitely had those conversations in the last week. So I think the way you do it is you gotta put him out there as much as you can without killing him, and see how he responds. I think where he is right now with his swing and his at bats, they're a little bit more, what we're used to seeing out of him. And now it's just a matter of holding that while he's going to be playing quite a bit more.
John, what are the plans for Ryan Yarbrough, who joins the team today?
Yeah, he's here. He's going to be active today. We've seen him a ton in Tampa, obviously. We, seem to have our number. We joked about that right when he walked into the office today. He's going to be, kind of a Swiss Army knife. Could be length, could be 2 innings, could start a game, kind of what he's done over his whole career. And I think it's nice to kind of have a guy that's been around, just talking to him. He's a pro, he's kind of been through it a little bit and understands where he is, understands where we are right now in the season, and he's going to take the ball whenever we need him to. So it could be a variety of roles. I know he hasn't thrown in a couple days, so we'll probably give him, at least today to kind of get his feet underneath him, and he's ready to help.
Yariel Rodriguez pitching game 3, as you well know, had a stinker, his last one. What do you think he can take from the stinker? I don't want to say never have one like that again, but he's old enough to self-correct and sort of keep it on the tracks, right? I mean, it's one thing to have a bad one. It's another thing to have that one. So what do you think he can take from that, make himself better, and sort of just be, like we said before, predictable going forward here?
Yeah, I mean, again, he's still kind of working through the whole routine of being a starter. It's 800 degrees in Baltimore on a first David doubleheader. It wasn't the best scenario. I think what he can take from it, when we talked about it, was, you're going to have days where you're off. You're going to have days where you don't have your stuff. Any major league starter tells you that. But and when you have those days, it's how do I maneuver? How do I limit damage? How do I get back in the zone? I think the biggest thing, like you said, being kind of predictable. It starts with his delivery. He can manipulate it, slow, fast, hesitation. I think just being consistent with that and throwing more strikes. The games that he's been great, he's been in the zone and understands that his stuff gets people out in the zone. And, that games like that, I mean, it happens with veteran guys, with Chris, even when you don't have your best stuff in Baltimore and you navigate through 4, you throw 100 pitches, but you save the bullpen a little bit. So those were the conversations, just when you kind of feel like you don't really have it, you got to be in the zone. You got to make teams beat you. The walks are going to kill you. The walks are going to kill you every single time, whether you're a starter or you're coming out of the pen. We've seen that this year. So, falling back on knowing that his stuff gets people out in the zone.
Yeah, it's great. Last one before we let you go. Between the 3 big guys, Gausman, Barrios, and Bassett, mentally going down the stretch here, it's about 10 starts, I think, with all 3 of them you're going to have. I mean, I'm sure you can maneuver it, and, if you had to take away a couple from a guy or 2, you could do that. But any worry mentally, physically going down the stretch here of that part of it, just getting through the grind? You can tell they've been grinding. Like Barrios has been grinding. You can tell Bassett's been grinding. Gausman looks like he's figured a little something out, bottom of the zone, those kind of things. He's going to pound the zone. Is there any worry there? Any conversations? I know Petey does a really good job of that, but any worry? Because going into the off season, into the next season, you got to have these 3 dudes raring and ready to go to get off to a good start. How do you maneuver that going forward here to make sure of that going into next season having a good start?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to all those guys. We talked to them individually. We actually talked to those guys, collectively in Baltimore. When trade deadline comes and goes, and we've relied on them so much the last year and a half, and they've been so damn good, and it's not different. The people behind them may be a little bit different, but you have to continue to take pride in being an established major league pitcher, and one that is going to go deep into games. So we've talked to them about that, and it's so cool to have three guys like that. Just their not only their performance, but their personalities are so consistent, and they get it. They understand where we are, and they understand that they're going to be a big part of what we're trying to do next year and trying to win next year. So it would be easy, I think, to kind of say, okay, let me just finish this season out. But they're going about it the right way. They're in between work. The way that they're talking with Yariel, with Bowden, with amongst each other, they're still going about it the right way. So there's not really a worry about it. And like you said, Pete does an amazing job with them in terms of how they get ready and things like that. So we're going to rely on them to be their normal selves. There's going to be some games that don't go our way. You know what I mean? There's going to be a little bit of a different defense out there, and they're going to have to deal with that. And we've talked to them about that. So I think the fact that they respect what they do so much, it's just easy for them to go out and do their thing every fifth day. And we're going to try to protect them a little bit, but at the same time, we're going to rely on them if that makes sense.
Sure.
If there's a day to get them back on turn with an off day, they're going to pitch. And they're ready for it. So it's, again, the people that they are makes it really easy for us to kind of reel them in a little bit and say, hey, you got to go out and continue to do your thing.
Very cool.
John, just before we do let you run, the last time Chris Bassett pitched, he was asked after the game about what his goals were down the stretch. He said, well, I want to pitch in the playoffs. Is there, when you say you had to talk to them as a group, look, understandably, these are veteran guys. These are guys, the clock is ticking down on them in terms of having an ability to win a title. Was that any concern at all on your part in talking to them? They're pros and, they're obviously solid guys, but they're also at that stage where they probably want a shot at a World Series. Right? Is that a concern at all for you when you talk to them?
Yeah, not a concern, but that's just the reality of it.
Right. Concern's the wrong word. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But they all want to be pitching deep into the postseason. They all want to be pitching on a big stage. That's why they all came here, and that's what they want to do. So, I mean, that's the part that you got to navigate a little bit, understanding that, where we are isn't exactly where we wanted to be. Well, it's not even close to where we wanted to be. So I think that they have to continue to find ways to stay motivated and understand that they're going to be here next year, and they're going to be a big part of us trying to get to the postseason next year. So, I don't think it's concern, but out of respect for them and where they are in their career, what they've done, where they've been, they deserve to be pitching in the postseason. And that's our goal collectively. We want to put guys around them and other guys that have been here to make that happen next year. So they know that, they get it. And I think it's just kind of getting through the first turn through here when things are a little bit new and a little bit different. And then it goes back to business as usual.
John, good stuff. Really appreciate your time today. Go get him.
Thanks,
Thank you
buddy.
for this.
All right. Yeah, good catching up, guys. Thanks.
Take
care.
Appreciate it.
John Schneider, manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. 7:05 is the first pitch tonight against the New York Yankees. The Jays lineup is out, and it is Springer, Loperfido, Guerrero. He's at first base. Horowitz is DHing. Varsho, Clement, Schneider, Jimenez, Servin, Gossman. We should mention that the Jays, and again, I guess they are waiting for Alejandro Kirk for a report on Alejandro Kirk, who was hit by a pitch. They did claim a catcher, Nick Raposo, off waivers from the St. Louis Cardinals.
Just in case.
So just in case.
Yeah.
So Brian Servin gets the start today, but I would imagine that perhaps there may be some update. There may be some update down the road on that. Jack Curry is the Yes Network studio analyst. He'll join us next. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and Sportsnet. How are you doing?
You try to bring me down between breaks during the commercial, and I won't let you. You try.
Reel you in a bit. It's Blair and Barker for a Friday. 7:05 is the first pitch.
Huh.
What? 7:05 is the first pitch tonight from Yankee Stadium. We've got Jays and Orioles tickets to give away, and we'll do that probably next hour or maybe at the end of this segment. And depending on
whenever we get to it.
Whenever we get to it. 416-413-3959 is the back leg line. Leave a voice message for Kevin Barker. If we like it, we'll play it. If not, well,
you wasted your time.
I was going to say, if not, do better next time. Right? Very simple. 416-413-3959. Let's bring in Jack Curry, one of our favorites. He's the Yes Network studio analyst. Mr. Curry, sir, how are you doing?
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Kevin. How are you guys?
Oh, well, we're doing well, getting ready for the final 53 games, and pretty much as we predicted, playing out the string here.
Yep.
Which it's going to take a little bit of an adjustment from the way things sometimes happen in these parts. Not for you guys, though. Now, but Kevin and I were talking about this. You've seen more of the Yankees. Jack, I can't figure out the Yankees because I see them sweep the Phillies, and, I look at Judge and Soto, but it's just, it's almost as if there's something not, and I'm not a fan of using the phrase clicking, but it's just as if they always leave me wanting a little something more, I guess is the way I'd put it.
Yeah, it's a cliche, but there have been some Jekyll and Hyde moments for the Yankees this year. Best record in baseball for the first 70 games. I want to say the next 35 games. Second worst record in baseball behind only the White Sox. And guys, if we had been having this conversation at about midnight on Friday when they blew a game against the Red Sox that they should have won, where Luke Weaver and Clay Holmes gave up a 3-run lead, Yankee fans were apoplectic. But since then, as you mentioned, they steadied themselves. They won 2 straight against Boston. They swept the Phillies, and they finally started to get some offense beyond Soto and Judge. Those have been the constants. I think Judge should win the MVP. I think Soto should finish third, maybe behind Bobby Witt Jr. But they were waiting for other guys to come along, and they've finally gotten that. Wells, Volpe, other players are contributing, and that's why they've scored 46 runs in their last 5 games. It's become a ferocious offense.
Jack, you mentioned Wells. If I'm the Blue Jays, why would I ever pitch to Judge with Wells standing on the on-deck circle?
Well, here's why. I'm glad you asked that. Guess who in the last 36 games leads American League catchers in OPS? Austin Wells.
Wow.
Austin Wells. And it took a while, Kevin, for them to find somebody behind there.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a game, and this is no disrespect to these two players because it's hard to get to the major leagues, and I always want to be careful when I say this, but there was a game against the Mets where the Yankees had Jahmai Jones leading off, Soto hitting second, Judge hitting third, and J.D. Davis hitting cleanup. J.D. Davis has since been DFA'd. Jahmai Jones was too, but he accepted a AAA assignment. So in those moments, in those circumstances, I agree with you 100%. Mm-hmm. I still don't disagree with you. I think you got to pick your spots. I think you'd much rather go after a Wells, despite what I just said, than you would against Judge. But it's really weird, guys. We talk about this at Yes all the time. There have been many moments this year where we've turned to ourselves and said, why did they even pitch to Judge right there with some of the lineups that the Yankees had been assembling?
Yeah, it's I mean, Kevin made this point as well when we were looking at the lineup, and to me that's one reason I think, I know when the deal was made for Jazz Chisholm, a lot of people were they were wondering how he would fit into the Bronx and everything. But Jack, I know you've covered a lot of these Yankees, the great Yankees teams. I mean, it seemed to me as if those good Yankees teams, they always seem to have one guy, right? He joined the team and people would scratch their head and go, how the hell is he going to fit in there? I mean, he's a bit of didn't have the reputation necessarily being a great teammate, yada, yada, et cetera, going to have to cut his hair, et cetera, et cetera. How's he going to fit into the Yankees culture? And it's just like the Yankees culture. I mean, I remember the Yankees culture kind of almost changed David Justice, right? And people's perception of him. What is it about that? And could that be at work with Jazz here? Not saying he's a bad guy, but he has a reputation, right? Let's be clear.
I think what you're seeing, Jeff, is Aaron Judge takes the role of being a captain very seriously. And you will see him talking to guys in the dugout. You will see him talking to guys in the clubhouse. And Chisholm, even though it's only been 4 games, has already said that he's never had players like Judge and Soto offer him as much advice and as much guidance as they have in this short period of time. When the Yankees got Verdugo and Stroman in the offseason, I had baseball people say to me, this is going to blow up on them. These guys have had some issues in other clubhouses, and I think the Yankees would have wanted better performances from Stroman and Verdugo. Stroman's really struggling lately. Verdugo's started to hit a little bit, but in terms of assimilating to the clubhouse and being good teammates, that those guys have fit right in, and I think Chisholm is doing the same. I think, guys, let's be honest, he was on the Marlins, he was going nowhere, and now suddenly you got a chance to play for a team that is tied for first place today. It has to energize you.
Jack, who starts game one of a playoff series?
Garrett Cole. He's their guy. I imagine you guys, the Blue Jays, will see him on Sunday. The Yankees haven't officially announced it yet. I still think that even as he is working his way back, he's got 2 months to get to that point. But after that, I think it gets a little tricky. But I think it's Cole. I think right now they're probably Cole, Rodon, Luis Gil. And then I think after that, if you needed a fourth starter in a series, that they'll figure that out. But right now, I'd say those three guys are the top three.
I watched Hill against the Phillies. That's about as filthy as it gets. That's the only reason I ask, would there be any chance of him sort of, I don't know, with this Cole flip-flopping with Cole, and maybe you're trying to stuff people to death, right? Right now it's Hill.
It's a great question, Kevin, and I'm answering that with the belief that Cole's going to be himself across the next couple of months, and not wanting to put too much pressure on the kid. I even put Rodon in the middle there because you want to go right, left, right, potentially. But what's interesting about Gil, the version you saw of him against the Phillies, he's even become a different pitcher because he was fastball, changeup, slider, third, and low on the list at the beginning of the year when he was dominating everyone. And how about this? He has an appearance against the Mets. He knows Luis Severino, the former Yankee, well, and they have a conversation, and he was telling Severino that he didn't like the movement he was getting on his slider. Severino gives him a couple of tips, and he works on the grip, and since then he's thrown his slider about a third of the time, and it's become his best secondary pitch. I guess the Mets should be very thankful that they don't have to face Gil anymore the rest of this season, because he's crediting Severino with helping that pitch come along and become such a plus pitch for him.
Hey, speaking of Marcus, looking at some of his numbers, what to your mind explains the decrease in the ground ball percentage? Because that was always kind of his stock and trade, right? And he has to be effective. To be effective, he has to do that, right?
Yes, he's got this. The sinker has not been what it should be for him. But here's what's puzzling: since June, batters are hitting .373 against the sinker, Jeff. But our guys at our research crew does such a great job. The ground ball percentage is almost identical. It's just that they're hitting harder ground balls, I guess, or he's leaving pitches in spots where he can have damage done against him. You guys watch Stroman, and if you watch Stroman, you know he's not going to blow anybody away. It's got to be about movement and location, and he's leaving too many pitches in the plate, over the middle of the plate, and he's just getting hit. I mean, it's pitching 101. I think Stroman himself would admit that, but he's a guy who pitches to the edges, and when he catches too much of the middle of the plate, he could get hit hard.
Jack, who needs to step up other than Judge or Soto for the Yankees to win the East and make a decent run in the playoffs?
Stanton. They missed Stanton when he was out. When he missed 28 games, they went 10-18. His absence coincided with what we were just talking about, Kevin. Stanton, whatever you want to say about him, this year he was on pace for 35 homers. He's always going to strike out a lot, but you ask any major league pitcher who's got Judge in the box and sees Stanton standing in the on-deck circle, that's a guy who can hit it 120 miles an hour too. So I think if they get the version of Stanton who he was before he went on the IL, I think that's a big part of them being successful offensively. That's on the offensive side. Bullpen, Clay Holmes. I mean, Clay Holmes is you want to know in the postseason, and I don't have to tell you guys this, you've got to win, and you're 3 outs away. You got to win that game, and that's why I think they need Holmes to right himself as well.
Jack, we're going to let you run. We know you have a game to get ready for. We appreciate your time as always, my friend. Good chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Jack.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Jack Curry, studio analyst with the Yes Network. And that is interesting on Mark Stroman because he is it depends on getting ground ball outs.
Yeah, I think
it's
it's the
true,
velocity too a little bit.
It's getting up there.
It is. I mean, you got to be really on point with your location. I think that's the sort of unpredictability of the counts and the location of when you're throwing the pitches. You lose a little tick. You got to be trickery sometimes. And if you're not on point with the location, it's not exactly where you want it to be. And batters can sort of eliminate a location or a count. Now they got a better chance of hitting that thing hard. That's what happens. So,
yeah,
wham to the Yankees. They're tied for first. It's like wham.
But it is amazing that I did not realize that stat from Jack. 70 games, best record in the majors. The next 35, second worst.
Well, the pitching stunk for quite some time.
Yeah, and it looks like it was a good question about the postseason. I was wondering how Jack was going to answer it, and after watching Heel against.
I don't know what general body fatigue means with Cole. I have no idea what that means.
It's funny because
no idea.
It's the second time he's had it. It had it in spring training, if you remember, and all sorts of red flags went up. And at that time, it was just tired.
Heck, I have that every day.
Yeah, but the different,
every single day.
But as several people point out, like that's a big dude.
I guess he plays once a week.
That's a big dude. But also, he may play once a week. But also, I think that's the thing with Garrett Cole. Now you got to remember, he's in that situation where he's got the decision to make on the option, his contract. It's his decision.
Man.
And I think it's one of those things where you have to work with him. You have to work with his agent. And I think you trust Garrett Cole.
If you get a 9-to-5 job and you hear somebody making $330 million says, I got general body fatigue. You tend to roll your eyes.
I also
throw your hands in the air.
I also tend to think that teams lie about injuries. And if I tell you,
make a better lie.
No, if I tell you,
lie better.
If I tell you, Garrett,
because I'm laughing at that.
If I tell you Garrett Cole's not starting because of shoulder fatigue,
that's better than this.
Why is it better? It's not for the Yankees. It's not for Cole. It's maybe it makes you feel better. Why would you give the opposing team any more information than you have to?
When you roll him out there and you see the stuff he's giving you, you'll know what's wrong with him. It's either there or it's not. Yeah, he's a stuff guy.
Then why do you need to know anything beyond body fatigue?
That's
they're not obligated to tell you what's wrong with them.
They're not, and I'm sure they're lying.
Of course they're lying.
Absolutely.
So why are you getting upset today? Newsflash. Teams lie.
It's not a lie. I'm not upset. I just, man, really? Okay. That's what you want to go with. He's got big, strong guy who's got
arm stiffness.
Even better. Okay, I can understand why you haven't pitched since 24. Okay, that's perfect.
Good. That's great. I'm glad. I feel better because that is the whole thing the Yankees want to do is they want to make Kevin Barker feel better. Get him a and gets
better sleep. That's what most people are going to say. You got money coming out the ears.
Only you're saying that.
Figure out. It's okay, whatever.
Do they need him to start in game 106 against the last place team in the East?
Do they want to win the East or don't they?
They need him to start. Do they need him to start against the Jays?
He's going to start. He's going to start Sunday.
You want to save him?
He's going to start Sunday. Jack just told you that. If you've been listening to Jack.
No, but my whole point to this is why? Yeah. So he missed a start with general. Body fatigue.
You can't even.
They're going to pick and choose his starts. I don't have any problem.
I'm not saying they're not lying. You know it, and I know it. But
it's also entirely
just a terrible lie.
It's also entirely possible they didn't like the matchup. And again, they're not going to come out and say we don't like the matchup. I
if he's throwing game one again,
I can't believe in 2020 in 2024 we're getting upset about teams lying about injuries. Holy cow.
Yeah, I think there's certain people that you need to be better liars about. He's the number one pitcher on the staff that's trying to win the World Series with ease.
I think they're okay.
And who they'll probably face in the World Series?
I think his teammates.
Is he going to have general body fatigue the first game of the World Series against the Phillies?
I don't think that it'll ever come. I don't think his teammates will be thinking about that when he's on the mound against the Phillies. I don't think his
maybe
teammates
he'll
care.
be on the mound. That's why I asked Jack. Yeah, Jack threw it out there real quick, but then when I said Hill's got pretty good stuff. I mean, 99 easy.
Anyhow,
Ain't too shabby.
get worked up about teams.
No, it's not really. It's
lying
not
about
really
guys'
worked
health.
up. It's just a terrible lie.
It's not a terrible lie.
It is. You could come up with a better.
It's not a lie if we know what the
Stubbed
truth
his toe getting out of his $400,000 vehicle. Something. Because most people just say get more rest. Like,
No, because most people realize that that the Yankees are BSing and wouldn't get upset about it. Only you would get upset about it.
I'm not really upset.
You are upset. I could tell you're upset.
I think it's silly. I read that and I thought it was like, well.
We're giving you the chance to win Blue Jays tickets all season long here at Blair and Barker. All you have to do is text the correct answer to our daily baseball trivia question to 590. Standard message and data rates may apply. Our last question and answer was, this pitcher is best known for his time with the Blue Jays, but played for 2 other teams named after birds. 1 season with the Cardinals and 3 with the Orioles.
There's no way
before
you knew
returning
this.
to Toronto to end his career. I knew it was Pat Henkin. I mean, who else pitched with the Cardinals, pitched with the Orioles, and then came back to Toronto to end his career? Just like one guy.
Okay.
It's Pat Henkin. Today's question is to win tickets to see the Jays and Orioles at the Rogers Center on Thursday. No, because you just pissed me off with this whole.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you're just such a.
I have a tough time reading that when I slept on the floor of a bus for 14 hours. You've never done it.
I have
So you know you
I've
haven't.
slept on the floor of a bus, maybe not for 14 hours.
Got
You'd be
dressed
surprised
in
where
your
I've
uniform on the bus.
Well, it's
went
not
right
my
from
fault.
the bus. I mean, dreams
not
are hard
my
to come
fault.
by.
It's not my fault.
$300 million guy's got a little body fatigue.
Anyhow, today's question is to win. I got mental fatigue from working with you. Today's question is to win tickets to see the Jays and Orioles at the Rogers Center on Thursday, August 8th. This starter was an all-star for the Blue Jays and also
Said
played.
he's ducking the Phillies, too, is exactly what you just said. Sorry.
This starter was someone knocking at the door.
No.
We're on the air. Wait till we're off.
There's a sheet out there that says nobody's allowed in.
This starter was an all-star for the Blue Jays and also played, if it's pizza, just leave it on we'll get it later. This starter was an all-star for the Blue Jays and also played for the Orioles and then Tampa Bay Devil Rays. His one stop outside of the AL East was with the Reds in 1999. Again, this starter was an all-star for the Blue Jays and also played for the Orioles. This is a good one, actually, because I did not know this. And Tampa Bay Devil Rays. His one stop outside the AL East was with the Reds in 1999. Text the answer to 590 for your shot to win. See rules at sportsnet.ca/590. And as always, standard message and data rates may apply. 416-413-3959. That's the number of the back leg line. We're going to go to it at 5 o'clock. Bob Nightengale joins us at 5:30. He's what?
Keep going. You're on a roll.
No, I just said he's a national MLB writer with the USA Today. He's going to join us at 5:30. What? We'll talk about Mike Trout and San Diego Padres and the Dodgers. Those Padres, if only there was someone with the stones in this panel to come out and say Padres were going to be.
If you go back and listen, it was both of us. Don't get all like, oh, look at me, I know everything. We know better.
Padres.
Okay? Go get some rest. Yeah. Go get some rest, Jeff. We all need it.
General body fatigue from being with you all the time.
You being from a hockey country. You imagine? Hockey players, I'm tired. I can't play today.
Stop it. Back leg line is next. It's Blair and Barker. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker. The last hour.
Yeah, to take a quick nap.
Now we got the back leg line here.
Got my quick nap in.
Got your quick nap in. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Hanging in there?
You good?
Yeah, we are number one. You're number one, too, by the way.
He did that to you, not me.
416-413-3959 is the back leg line. I guess there's no point in putting the number out now because we got
enough.
We got the calls here. But you know what? I've got general body fatigue, so I'm not going to do it.
Silly, ain't it?
You're just.
It is silly.
It's so easy to get you wound up.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Best time. Sometimes just things unsaid are better. Yeah.
Bob Nightengale will join us in a few minutes. Just go to the back leg line
Absolutely.
right away because
Yeah.
we're all getting a little general fatigue.
Jay's got it right, the first caller.
Jay in Horseshoe Valley, Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I think I agree with the last part. But if Passon's right, you can get Vladdy for much cheaper. Bryce Harper, got
Jeff Passan. For what it's
330
worth,
as a right fielder.
Yeah, Jeff Passan, just to give people a little bit of background here. We were talking to Jeff Passan yesterday about sort of parameters for a Vladdy Jr. contract. And, the highest AAV for first baseman right now is Freddie Freeman's at around $26 million. The highest overall value is $330 million for Bryce Harper, but that was signed when Bryce Harper was an outfielder, and surprise, surprise, with analytics being the way they are now, there are value. I mean, teams have different values for different positions, and when it comes to who's making what and who's going to make what, Passon's usually pretty good. So that's where Kevin said, if you operate under the assumption that you want him, he wants to be the highest paid first baseman in the game, that would mean more than $27,000 per year that Freddie Freeman is. $27 million per year that Freddie Freeman is getting. And it's kind of what we talked about. Then you get down to number of years. Like I think eight years at 28 years at $25 million or something like that, or that's $200 million, right? It's not going to do it. 10 years at 25, 8 years at 28, however you want to put it. I would go someplace. I would say it's going to take someplace between 7 to 10 years and something between, I would say, 25 to 28,000 to get Vladdy.
28 million.
28 million. Why am I thinking 28,000?
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because I got general brain fatigue. 25 million to 28 million to get it done. And I can't disagree with the caller. And I know people are out there saying, well, weren't you the guy that was saying like 4 months ago that you didn't know what Vladdy was?
You were.
Yeah, I was. So were you.
No, I wasn't.
But I think we all kind of agreed at that point that, and we've known all along they were going to sign one of those two guys, Bo or Vladdy. I just thought up until this year, I thought you knew what you were getting a little more from Bo. It was different, obviously, than what Vladdy was going to give you. You weren't going to get as many home runs. But based on what we've seen now, and based on, maybe more importantly, Kevin, what has happened to this team this year, the way it has fallen off the cliff, I think the idea of signing Vladdy to a long-term contract becomes more real. Because, see, there was a lesson to be learned from what Masai Ujiri did with the Toronto Raptors. Raptors won their championship. Masai Ujiri just said, okay, well, yeah, there's a freedom that comes with winning a championship. And if you're the Blue Jays and you win let's say you won a World Series a couple of years ago, you can basically, I think you can go to your public and say, you know what, we tried to sign Vladdy, but it didn't work out. And the public can go, well, you guys got your World Series out of it. Not winning really, to me, has kind of changed the equation here when it comes to Vladdy.
I think as long as ownership is still willing, even after you give Vladdy whatever that number would be, going out and adding stuff to put around Vladdy. Vladdy needs help. Let's be honest.
The thing is, it's not that undoable, because you are going to, you can pair money off if you want.
Maybe if you trade Bo too, that'll be a little money off the books.
That's
you
about
could give
$20 million.
Yeah, it's like 11 a year, but yeah, it's
more than that now. Bo's contract next year. I think it's a little more than 11. But the point is, the point is
he'd
well
be some
made.
money off the books.
You can make it work.
Sure, but you still want to add around him and still get the fullest out of him.
Well, you have to. In order to make it work, you've got to be able to add around.
So it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a position you were in when we had Carlos Delgado here. You had nothing else around.
And we have no idea the answer to that. We don't know what ownership wants to do or is willing to do. No.
Jim in Calgary.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Jim in Calgary.
A couple of comments / questions. One, you guys are talking about Bassett being on the back nine, and you're worried that, at his age, et cetera. My comment is the guy's a horse. He's 6'5". He's a big guy. And I think that maybe just the drain of the way this team has played has killed him more than anything. And secondly, Jeff, there is a ton of really, really first-class golf courses in New York. So give it up and don't be so mean to Hazel and other golfers. Have a great Friday, boys. Yep. Good long weekend to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim.
I don't care if they're good
job,
golf.
Jim.
I don't care if they're nice golf courses in New York. It doesn't mean you have to use them.
I'm not sure Hazel had a good time. She wasn't very good at it yesterday, but she still liked hanging out with her friends. I think that's the whole point, right? You have a job that's demanding.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lovely golf courses. It just doesn't mean you have to use them.
Well, it's for you.
Yeah. You just don't have to use them.
I think we live in a world where we don't let other people dictate what we're going to do with our days off. Period. End of story. Like, I wouldn't call you the next day I have off and say, Jeff, is it okay that I go wash my car? Or I'm not, because I'm not going to do that.
I don't think. By the way, Bo makes $12 million this year. So
I was right around it. And the Bassett thing, the only reason I say that is they're hitting 340 off his sinker.
Yeah, and it doesn't, he's a horse. You only got so many bullets. It doesn't matter if you're 6'10" or if you're 5'10". You've only got so many bullets.
Yeah, he doesn't have a changeup, and they're slugging 419 off his sinker. Like, everything feeds off the sinker and the cutter, and I get it. It's been a mental grind. I get it. The defense behind him hasn't been the greatest all the time. Lefties are doing some stuff to him. Like, if the elevated two-seamer and the elevated cutter and the surprise with the slow – where's the slow breaking ball went? When's the last time you saw him throw a good one? Like, that's it's like when you don't have the feel of the secondary stuff, you don't have the location of your two different fastballs, what are we supposed to think? And it's a pretty big enough sample size of us seeing you teaching other guys in your rotation how to not fly open. I don't know. Look, they're going to need him. They don't trade him in the offseason. They're going to need him to do some things. Start the season. That's why I asked John about the big three. Are they worried about that?
Well, and that's one of the reasons.
10 starts.
One of the reasons I asked him. That's one of the reasons I asked him too about that comment Chris Bassett made after his after that recent start. What's your goal? To pitch in the playoffs. I want to pitch in the playoffs, and that's why I wondered after the trade deadline. Here's the thing we need to remember, and I know these guys do get paid good money. I understand that, but in the past couple of years, we've seen the Blue Jays ask these guys to basically go to a four-man rotation because Alek Manoah was hurt.
Yep.
They did it. I mean, they asked him to make all those adjustments for Manoah. Yariel Rodriguez is coming, and they've had to make a few adjustments to that because they're getting used to that guy. You went through the whole thing with Manoah again this year, and now, they're turning. I can pretty much guarantee you that at no point in spring training did Kevin Gausman say, man, I can't wait till I have Clement, Jimenez, Horwitz, and I guarantee you that they didn't think that they were going to be pitching in front of those guys, and not to take anything away from those guys, but that's not the same as when you've had Chapman and Bichette and whoever else behind you.
And don't forget not doing anything after you lost your closer and your eighth inning guy.
And that's the other thing.
And them knowing it.
Not doing anything after Romano
Nothing.
Goes down and Garcia's on the sidelines, and the front office didn't do anything. Like, I get why John Schneider would have felt the need to sit down with those three and tell them, okay, I know you know this, but this is what we are going to be doing, and we are doing it because we want to be a better team next year, and hopefully next year you will get to the playoffs with that. And I know people are out there probably thinking, well, why do they need to hear that? Sometimes it's just nice to have your boss say to you, hey, you know what? We understand.
We appreciate what you've done.
We appreciate what you do.
We know what you've done.
Jan in Peterborough.
It's a great question, Jim, though.
That is.
Yeah.
To see the Jays turn the page on a number of those veterans, because it was rather excruciating thinking about watching a group of veterans underperforming and sort of funeral walking to the end of the season. It is exciting to see some new players coming in. Jeff and Kevin, I'm a longtime fan and rarely miss a show, and thank you very much for your balanced and candid take on all the things that are Blue Jays. As I said, it's also refreshing to see the front office stray from their traditional prospect brand and acquire some power upside with speed in players like McAdoo and Clase. Joey Loperfido would seem to be an on-brand acquisition. Do you see him as a real contributor for 2025, or is he Kevin Biggio 2.0?
I mean, that's a great call. I think it's too early to know that, Jeff. I would love to give, because that was a tremendous call and it's well thought out, and obviously Jane really knows baseball and is in tune with what's going on with the Blue Jays. I just don't know if we know that yet. I know why John's putting him in a 2-hole. It's not no coinky dink that because of that old big boy hitting third that he's thinking you can simplify this, because he looked the same stat I looked at. He no like you breaking ball. So what do? You stick him in front of the dude that just absolutely is annihilating everything, and you're thinking fastball count. If I'm going to get a fastball anytime, it'd be hitting in front of that guy. So I know why they've done that, and they're trying to get him off to a hot start. It's just the Tucker lower half that he is trying to do and duplicate. You got to be almost perfect with your top hand, and only time will tell. So I that long-winded answer, I'm just not sure of that. You know, do I think they need to go out and get an impactful bat? I've been saying that for a couple of years now, obviously, and that impactful bat may need to play left field. So, yeah, look, is he on your team next year? I like what John said when I said, how do you grade these guys? And I'm going to say that he threw Joey in there. It is performance-driven. The next 53 games, you got to show them something. Davis Schneider's, Loperfido, all of them. They got to show them something to be on the team next year. So I guess it's sort of in their ballpark.
Yeah, I think so. Look, I think every bench job is open.
Yeah. I think what Jane is asking, though, is can he be more than a bench guy? That's the question. And I'm not sure we have the answer to that.
Could he be
yet.
a fourth outfielder?
Could he be a starter against right-handed pitching?
That depends on what else you get, where you fill in. As you said, that depends where you get your power. Can he be hitting fifth for you? No, he can't be your big offseason ad. I also think Ross Atkins was pretty clear that they think Jonathan Clase's got that bigger upside. This is just me. I think the chances of Clase being a contributor next year on an everyday basis or almost an everyday basis are better than Loperfido.
Let's be honest, too. They got some of them guys so in the offseason they can trade them. Loperfido might be one of them. If you got to go out and get whatever it is you get, an everyday catcher. I mean, they're going to basically tell. John just said he's going to find out if Kirky can play 5 days a week in the next 53 games. They're going to find out. Offensively, how's it going to look? No one in the offseason, whether they can check that off the list. So it's a tremendous question, but I'm just not sure right now today we have the answer to that. I think it's up to these players to tell us what the answer is.
Let's go to Trevor in Toronto.
And my question for you is this. Other than choking up on the bat or using a weighted donut on your bat when you're warming up on the on-deck circle, how can a hitter improve their bat speed?
That's for you, Barker.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I think a lot. Basically, it is this. Whatever your feet do, your hands are going to do. I give you an example. It is like Barger. Why did they take Barger from, if you can see me on TV, my hands are closer together. Why did they take him from basically being shoulder width apart with his lower half to widen that out a little bit is to maximize what he does well. And if my feet do what they're supposed to do, my hands will do and have the same direction, and it will be as quick as it possibly can. That's why you do that, right? They want to eliminate the big wasted move. It's like George Springer. You want to eliminate the thing he was doing with his barrel, the rappage, because I can't get it out front and beat the dude to the spot with velocity. So for me, that's nice what you mentioned with the weighted bat and those kind of things. I think it's more mechanical, right? The less wasted movement you have with your lower half, the quicker your hands will be and the better, more consistent path you will have with your hands. Shorter, quicker to the ball, right? Short to it, long through it. They've said that, and they will continue to say that. No matter how Akaki will try and talk you out of it, it will be that until baseball ends. But that is a tremendous question, and I've always thought, and I've always been taught, and I've always practiced, whatever your feet do, your hands will follow. So look at it that way, right? If you want to maximize your bat speed, be on point with your lower half. Have as less wasted movement with that as possible, and your hands will be as quick as they're supposed to be. I hope that answered, and I hope that simplified enough that if you wanted to practice that and try and translate that in a batting cage, you can do that.
Go to Louise in Moncton, New Brunswick.
Hi, guys. One question for you. How much do you think that Bo's problems at the plate are caused by having all of the different ideas and different ways of doing things from our hitting staff is causing the problem? Thanks. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Louise.
You looking at me?
Well, no. I mean, we've talked about this a great deal. I think that
I think that's one of the reasons.
I think it's one of the reasons. I look at. I mean, Bo obviously has had good years since Marcus Semien left, but I do think that. I think Bo has at times felt like he was on a bit of an island, and I mean, I'm not going to speak for him, but I will also say this. There have been times in the last couple of years where Vladdy wasn't exactly tearing it up and Bo was kind of the only guy hitting.
This is why I said in spring training of last year. Absolutely. The pressure, I get back to that opening the season. Right? You got that feel of if I don't do it, it ain't going to get done. Yeah. That's a lot of pressure to put on a guy who hits, the first two spots in your order, not in the middle of your order, and is expected to hit 3-run homers middle the other way every other game. Like, it's just a lot to ask. And then you tend to chase, you tend to go outside of things that, quite frankly, you're not capable of doing. And then when the snowball starts to get bigger, rolling down the mountain, and it gets too big to stop. And on top of it, quite frankly, I just don't think they're meshed together when it comes to front office and Bo. I think he's one of those guys that has to have that. Like, everything has to be going the way it needs to be going, right? Like, you do your part, I'll do my part. When you ain't doing your part, I have to do more. Well, why should I have to do more when you ain't doing your part? I think Bo takes exception to that, and I think that's sort of what happened off-season, carrying into this season. So it's a tremendous question. I think that's one reason. They have way too many hitting coaches. Way too many. I mean, John mentioned them. Oh, bowling. You mentioned that about Joey.
That look.
You mentioned that about Joey. Like, I've already had talks with him. He mentioned
at some point,
Uncle.
At some point,
who am I going to if I'm Joey?
Well,
think about that.
Here's what I'm going to ask you this.
Put a line and ball 5 up, Joey. Pick one.
No, I'm going to ask you this. I'm in the team. I'm scuffling.
Yeah.
Who do I go to?
I call my dad, but I just
call Dante. Call Dante.
I call my dad.
1-800. 1-800-23
He ain't my dad. I call my dad.
But no, but I'm being serious here, Kevin. Like, what is the? I don't know if protocol is the right word, but who do I go to? Like, do I go to one guy for strategy? Do I go to one guy because my lower half needs work?
I don't think it's that the 5 guys that they have don't know what they're doing. No. Obviously, Donnie Baseball knows baseball, and he knows hitting. It's the fact of.
Like, do they get passed around? Okay, I'm going to ask you this.
Absolutely.
So, you know what?
Absolutely.
I'd like to help you, but I'm looking at my schedule here. It's Hunter's turn today.
It's not that way. It's very individual. It's like you try one guy, it doesn't work for a little while, you go to another guy. It's not like you get passed around. They don't put 4 or 5 names in a hat and you pick your name out. You're like, yeah, I got Donnie Baseball this week. It's not like that. It's like they're grown men.
They're hitting coaches. They're not dentists. What are you doing? You're shopping around for dentists. It's like shopping for dentists.
And again, let's remember, these dudes are in the big leagues. They should know what their perfect mechanical move is.
I don't like that guy's bedside manner. I'm going to go to the other dentist. The other dentist has got smaller fingers.
Like David Schneider should stop tinkering. Like, it doesn't take a brain surgeon for me to look up stats and go, you tinker too much. You want to look, again, I can show you a bazillion hitters. Every person that's called in is obviously very intelligent about baseball. Every one of these names. You can go and watch every single hitter. I said this about the World Series last year. Go watch a good hitter facing really good pitching. Their swing always looks the same. It's just the point of contact looks different. You could lay it on top of each other. It's just quadrant of where the baseball's at. Name a dude for the Blue Jays that looks that way other than Vladdy. It's like they tinker. It's like David Schneider's a prime example. Like, he was standing taller against Rodriguez. You want to know why? Because somebody told him he throws the elevated fastball. The only way you're going to get on top of that is if you stand tall. But the problem with that is when the dude released the baseball, what does he do? He sits. So we wasted it, basically. And it's like you start all over again, because when you sit, your barrel follows, and it's got the windmill thing, and you miss balls by feet. That's the thing, right? It's just it's how quick the urgency is of making the adjustment. It's not that the hitting coaches don't know what the heck they're talking about. I've talked to them. They know what they're talking about. It's just, if I have a suggestion to a guy that's quite frankly not a big leaguer, and I go up to him and say, I need you to try this. That leg kick, when it's short together, ain't going to work here. It's just too violent. Dudes can add and subtract, and you have giant holes. I need you to widen it out quicker. Why'd it take so long for Barger to do that? It's not like the hitting coaches don't know that. That's the fact right here. It's not that they don't know what they're doing. It's just, for whatever reason, the hitters don't want to listen.
Maybe they just can't do it.
George Springer took forever. Everybody knew that George Springer, they knew he could do it. They knew what he needed to do by just basically standing the barrel straight up and down. It's gravity. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's gravity.
Oh, it is.
If I have it straight up and down, the weight of the barrel's just going to take over. It's going to fall on the ball. It gives me a better chance of beating velocity to the spot. Let's
go to Kelsey in Toronto.
That's a great call. Got me fired up.
I was watching some Major League games this week. I just kept hearing about, former Blue Jay, or was in the Blue Jay system, or not signed by the Blue Jay. And I'm just wondering, are there a bunch of bullpen guys or potential position players that we just never made it through our minor system or didn't crack the roster during those kind of in between 2015 to 2019 years that now we're thinking like that would be really helpful? Names like Brian Baker come to mind. I know he's with the Orioles, but let me know what your thoughts are on that, and if we really missed the boat on anybody that you guys know of now. All right, take care, guys. Have a great weekend.
Jeff Hoffman's one of those.
Jeff Hoffman. Wow. Jeff Hoffman got you Troy Tulowitzki. So
It did, but he's one of the guys. I mean, she's what she's talking about. I'm not saying squeeze to the cracks, but that's what you had to give up to get what you were getting.
I think she was taught, every organization's got those guys, first of all. I mean, they just do. The guy that I always hold out as an example is a dude who in the past, 5 years has got 24 saves and pitched to a whip, something in the neighborhood of 1.016, and that's Jason Adam. Jason Adam was here, and he's released. I can't put it any other way.
He wasn't throwing as hard, and he was really wild.
Yeah, but
they didn't have time to. You can't develop everybody at the big league level.
They had time.
That's what they're asking.
I mean, that was when they weren't good. The Jays weren't good then.
Core and coaches, you develop at the big league level.
The Jays weren't good then. That's 2018, 2019, 2018, 2019. They weren't that good. They went out and got him from Kansas City. And he was, I'm looking at these numbers. And again, then anything can be. I mean, it can be a 40-man roster deal and all that. But 2019 with the Jays, 21 2/3 innings. ERA is what it is. What was his ERA? His WHIP was 1.154. 18 strikeouts, 10 walks. I mean, it wasn't great, but yeah.
Who did he go to?
He went to the
Rays.
Cubs. He went to the Cubs.
And he went to the Rays. He was at the Rays for a while.
He went to the Cubs and he went to the Rays. And now he was traded to the Padres. But he turned into a really good reliever. And the thing it's like anything else. That may not have happened when he was with the Blue Jays. Maybe he went to Chicago and who knows? Hit it off with the pitching coach.
Late bloomer, maybe gained some weight, got stronger,
you got that
routine.
guy. But that's a guy I always think of because, they've been looking for the Jason Adam for a while.
Yeah.
Now, I know there are people out there going, Jeff, the guy's politically, it's a little bit to the right of some people, and that's going to matter. But in terms of, once you get beyond the Teoscars and the guys they've traded who've actually gone on to do something, I'm more interested in the guys they let go. And again, that happens with every organization. That's not the Oakland Athletics had Edwin Encarnacion, and he didn't see a pitch for him. They got him they picked him up on waivers and put him on waivers, and the Jays picked him up again. I mean, every team's got that.
Yeah.
Every team's made a mistake where they've overvalued guys or undervalued guys. But a guy like Adam is the guy that always has stood out with me.
Yeah, I think every organization has a checklist. When they're finished with the checklist and can't help anymore, it's like the Tim Mesa thing, right? Petey tried everything possible. The little checklist of trying to get him to throw harder like he used to and staying on top of the two-seamer and making it sink.
And you got to remember,
once you check it off.
For every dude like that, there's a Kevin Pillar that the organization sent down and stayed patient with, or Danny Jansen. They were patient as hell with Danny Jansen.
Yeah.
So I get what the caller's saying, but trust me, there are a lot of teams out there that have let guys walk for nothing, but or misread guys, or just had to move guys to get something done.
Mm-hmm.
But and also we've also got to say this. I'm sure there are other examples. Jason Adam just sticks in my mind, frankly, because he was just traded, and every organization misreads relief pitchers.
Yeah,
every organization.
Yeah, they're some are late bloomers, right? Some figure out arm slots and how hard to throw, and consistently. If I don't have a breaking ball, and then they get older. I would have loved to have been at the big leagues a little older. Like when I was younger, I didn't know how to be a big leaguer.
Yeah.
I got to the big leagues when I was 24. I didn't know how to be a big leaguer. If I would have went to the big leagues when I was 26 or 27, yeah. Like when my first day in the big leagues would have been 26 or 27.
You would have had a better handle on.
I'd have been in the big leagues a long time because I'd figured some things out a little longer, and I'd went through the grind of having to get sent down, and
it is. It's amazing.
It's not the easiest thing.
It's amazing when you talk to players who've had. I'm not talking about the superstars, but if you talk to guys who've had good careers, the number of times that something clicked with a guy or didn't click with this guy, or boy, this teammate, the number of times that someone has run into someone where it's made a difference.
Yeah, you got to have opportunity too, right? You got to have the right GM putting you in the right spot.
Yes.
It's like some of the hitters for the Blue Jays, right? If their team would have been good, they'd have no opportunity to make a team for next year. Like you would have been playing guys trying to, either win the East or make the playoffs. They wouldn't have been a part of this. So it's about opportunity. It's about the urgency of, I bring back the Barger thing, right?
Yeah.
You have the smaller stance. That big leg kick ain't going to work. Like it's just consistently, you can't get it down. I'm a little wider. It just gives me a chance to stay under my legs, stay in my legs, right? Use what the good Lord gave me, which is a big, giant tree trunks.
The bigger issue,
urgency.
The big issue for me with this organization,
opportunity.
The bigger issue for me with this organization isn't like the Jason Adams of the world. That happens to everybody. It's their inability to draft guys that contribute to the Blue Jays. It's the inability to have that minor league depth. to the point where you're going out at a trade deadline and you're essentially saying, you know what? We haven't done well in the draft the past couple of years, so we got to make up for it at the trade deadline. That concerns me more than
wonder why they even drafted.
That concerns me. I mean, every organization, every GM has that guy that just missed on
7 or 8 years of it. Then?
Bob Nightengale is a national MLB writer with USA Today. He'll join us next. It's Blair and Barker. It's a Friday. This is Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and Sportsnet. 7:05 will be the first pitch tonight from Yankee Stadium. Blair and Barker will be doing Blue Jays talk following the game as the Jays open a 3-game series against the Yankees. And just a reminder of the pitching matchups, because there has been a change. Kevin Gossman will take on Marcus Stroman tonight. Jose Barrios against Carlos Rodon tomorrow. And Yariel Rodriguez will take on Garrett Cole on Sunday. Not
Rested
Luis Gil, who was originally scheduled to start Sunday. So Barker can rest easy. Garrett Cole's general body fatigue has been cured. And he will
10 good nights of good sleep.
He will be pitching on Sunday. I would be willing to bet that when Shohei Ohtani was acquired by the LA Dodgers, everybody basically, not everybody, that's overstating it, but I think most people automatically took a look at the Dodgers lineup, took a look at the, at their financial strength and all that good stuff, and immediately assumed that the Dodgers were going to run away in the West and were going to be the best team in the National League. They're still awfully good, and I certainly wouldn't want to go on the air and say the Dodgers have no chance at all of winning the National League or the World Series, but that West race has tightened up a little bit. And don't look now, but the San Diego Padres are 9-1, and boy, the Padres-Dodgers series are just something else, man. Bob Nightengale is a national MLB writer with USA Today, and he joins us on Blair and Barker. Bob, thanks so much for doing this. As always, it's great to talk to you. Hey, have we been? I don't think because both Barker and and me at the start of the year picked the Padres as a team that we thought could really surprise people. But baseball in general, do you think that they've maybe, they look at the Padres and they kind of say, well, that's an underachieving team, and they just kind of put them in that underachieving category, and maybe we're overlooking that the Padres, they seem to have it going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought last year's team, to tell you the truth, was the most underachieving team of all time. Mm-hmm. That team was loaded, and it was actually kind of disgusting the way they played. They were down, they just quit, and so when they traded away Soto, and lost Snell, Josh Hader too, it's like, okay, this team's a lot worse on paper. But some of it, they're a lot better team now, without Soto. I mean, Soto wasn't nearly the player he is right now. He was a big disappointment to San Diego. And Mike Schilt has done a great job as manager. They're doing this without, Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish, and kind of piecemealing things together. And they come back now. Before, when they got down, they just quit. Now they come back. And with the moves they made with that bullpen, if they get in, they could be as dangerous as anybody.
Bob, do you think it takes a couple of years for a bunch of superstars in the same room to get all on the same page, like the Padres?
Yeah, just Soto just wasn't right mix for whatever reason. Heard things. Okay, him and Machado aren't getting along and stuff. But it's different in New York. One, he's a free agent next year. So he has to be, best behavior and, put out his best effort every single night. Where I think in San Diego, I think he might get just frustrated by everything as well. And I think, too, just having, as many Machado's team in San Diego, maybe had trouble with that. In New York, everybody knows it's Aaron Judge's team. And I think it helped that Judge kind of wrapped his arm around him and said, okay, let's do this together, where I'm not sure he felt that same love in San Diego.
It's really funny because, I look at AJ Preller, and, it's always fun to kind of draw a line down a sheet of paper and say GM's good moves, GM's bad moves. And I'll say this for A.J. Preller. He's not gun shy, is he? I mean, he really isn't. He's had some bad deals. He's had
a lot of prospects.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a certain, especially I think Bob, especially in this day and age where, how organizations treat prospects. We talked about the trade deadline. There wasn't one top 100 prospect that went, I don't think. But man, A.J. Preller is, if one was going to go, rest assured it was probably going to be an A.J. Preller prospect.
Yeah, I mean, he's traded at the start of the season. He's traded away 12 of their top 15 prospects. They were hoping to get a Flaherty too, and they were stunned that the Dodgers got him for so little. They wanted him, but yeah, I mean, you love having that enthusiasm and being that aggressive. I think his thing is, hey, if we have good scouts and can develop people, we'll go get more prospects. It's not like, you got to stop getting guys. And some of these teams are so afraid to trade prospects in case they come back and haunt them. And he's not afraid of that. I mean, he's had a bunch of prospects, that become all-stars and things like that. And he doesn't blink at it, just keeps on going.
Bob, now that the trade deadline's come and gone and the Blue Jays are where they're at in the standings, I think the one topic of conversation is, are they going to sign Vladdy? And me and Jeff sort of try and throw out all these kind of numbers and what he might, start making per year. And is it $25 million a year? Is it 26? Will he be the highest paid first baseman? Do you have any idea what the number would be, where it would start, maybe where it would end up?
I think it certainly starts with a 2. I don't know if it hits 3. In that, no first baseman's, made $300 million. So I think certainly over $200 million. And the one thing about him too, he can become the face of the franchise, and there are so few people that can sell tickets. And I think he's one of them. Mm-hmm. I think it helps too, where I think Bichette's out the door. Whether as a free agent or at the trade deadline next year. If the Blue Jays aren't contending, so pretty much just have to focus on one guy, giving that money to. So he seems to like it, and they don't have to negotiate against the Yankees. I mean, he's already said how much he doesn't want to go there. So I can't see him saying, okay, I can't wait to be a Yankee. And the Dodgers have him first baseman, Freddie Freeman. So it's not like they have to go against the big boys as far as spending money either.
If you're Vladdy, do you wait to see what Pete Alonso gets before you do anything? Or, I mean, I've often wondered about that because I think, Bob, as well as anybody, I think teams have an idea now, a better idea now than they've ever had of how to value players and what a value signing is. Do you think guys still wait, though, to see just in that possibility that somebody goes crazy and blows the doors off Pete Alonso, for example, that all of a sudden that makes Vladdy, that increases Vladdy's expectations?
I do. I mean, remember last year, all the pitchers waited for Yamamoto, and then they thought they were going to piggyback it and never got close.
Right.
But yeah, in Alonso's case, I don't see him getting 200. I really don't. But maybe someone, just says, oh, I got to have this guy. I got to, sell tickets and need a home run hitter. So maybe they do something stupid and do that. But, I'd rather have Christian Walker out of Arizona. He's older. He's only 34 years old. But you can get him for under $100 million, 2-time Gold Glove winner and everything else. So that's why I don't think that Alonso will get the money he thinks he's going to get. I mean, the Mets have had every chance to roll to sign him and stopped. So I don't see them saying, okay, yeah, we believe in you, particularly after having an off year. So I don't think Vladdy has to wait by any means on Alonso. I just don't think anybody's going to do a crazy number. So, really, I think the market, they would love to have Vladdy sign first, then they can piggyback off Vladdy's contract.
Bob, in the list of hard luck stories that you've covered or been around, where would you put Mike Trout's career? And I mean, I hate to say this guy, he has Hall of Fame numbers, but it just seems to me like there's this whole Sandy Koufax thing where when he's over, we're gonna go, man, how good could it have been?
Yeah, I mean, I did a story this a few months ago talking to Griffey. I mean, it reminds me of what happened to Griffey. I mean, Griffey should have had over 700 home runs.
Yeah.
You know, Griffey could have easily been the home run king, and just the the legs and the body gave out. In this case, it's just strange injuries. I mean, the Angels are frustrated too. They thought he was going to come back a lot faster for the meniscus tear. Who was in Wimbledon had the same injury. He was back in 3 weeks and playing. So the injuries take way, way too long. So, I think, it gets so, stupid during spring training and early in the season, when Trout's having a good spring or good April. Hey, should they trade Mike Trout? I mean, he's got no trade value.
Yeah.
The guy's got over $220 million owed to him, and he's missed, over 300 some games since 2021. So I don't think it affects his Hall of Fame stature, but I don't think we'll ever see the Mike Trout again.
Bob, do you think the Braves have a chance of overtaking the Phillies? I know the Braves are starting to hit some more home runs. We've had Alex on a bunch of times, and, he basically says, I get a lineup for thumpers. I want dudes that hit a bunch of homers in the regular season, so it carries over into the playoffs, gives me a better chance of doing that. Do you think the Braves have just enough this year to make a run at it? It's almost like they're sort of creeping in and the unforgotten team. We don't talk about them as much, I think, this year as we did last year. No,
I'm with you completely. What they've done down there with and Tapa's going there, it has been unbelievable. So no, people don't talk about those guys enough. I mean, now he's got the slugger and Soler. I bet he's a lot better with them than he was before. Hey, Chris Hill, everybody says he's going to break down. He's going to break down. Well, he hasn't broken down yet. He feels as strong as ever, and still got a good, very good bullpen in rotation. As long as he stays healthy and Fried stays healthy, they're very dangerous. I thought, I still think Philadelphia's a team to beat, but you saw what's happened the last week or 2 weeks where they go in a slump, just like they did last year against the Diamondbacks in the playoffs. I think Harper's like 1 for 30 in his last on that homestand. But that's a streaky offensive team, so they can go south at any time. But I'm with you. I mean, I think Atlanta's still very, very dangerous, and they've had a terrible first half as far as no one's really stepping up except for Marcell Ozuna. If Olsen starts heating up and Riley starts heating up, these guys are very dangerous.
Got that field just getting in, right, Bob? That's it. It's one of them years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that last year with the Diamondbacks. And Diamondbacks are a scary team now, too, getting guys back. Remember, Texas lost the division the last day. Next thing you know, they run the table on the road. It was a single road game. It's hard to predict that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Bob, really good of you to join us, man. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Thanks,
Be well.
Bob.
All right, take care, guys.
See ya.
Thank you. Yep, Bob Nightengale, national MLB writer with USA Today. It is, it's. I looked at what Jack Curry told us about the Yankees. You look at the Orioles' recent run, and you almost, Kevin, I made this point. This would have been a good year to not suck.
if you're the Jays,
it would have been a good year to not suck because there are good teams.
Yeah,
but
you can make an argument for 4, 5, 6 different teams in the American League. Yeah, you could.
We talked about this a little bit off the air. Can the Cleveland Guardians win the AL?
Absolutely.
Sure
they could win the World Series. Absolutely.
And can the Orioles? Sure.
Yeah.
Yankees? Sure. Houston. I mean, Houston.
Just get in. They're one of them teams, like the Braves. Just get in.
Yeah.
The Mariners with the pitching they got, their offense
really
gets hot.
is.
Like you could get some teams. Whenever you're talking about Trout, and the first name that popped in my mind was Bobby Witt Jr. You know Bobby Witt Jr. hit in July, Jeff?
No.
489. He slugged 833. That's for the month of July. 489. The very first thing that popped in my mind when Bob was talking about Trout and you were bringing up the question was, and if you've watched the Angels, how basically they've wasted Trout. How does Kansas City stay away from that with Bobby Witt Jr.?
Well, I will say this. I think, first of all, there's a couple of things that work here. One, Kansas City's getting a new stadium. So unlike, and that's one of the issues in Anaheim is just the stadium issue. Anaheim's always going to be sort of second fiddle to the Dodgers. I think it's a different market, but I also think that what you've seen early from Kansas City is, as much as they do have some financial limitations, they have shown early that they are making pretty smart baseball moves to bring in guys who are going to help. They're not bringing in a big thumper, but you know what they're doing? They've gone out and added bullpen arms to make it better. And I just get the sense that Kansas City has, and maybe it's a credit to their front office, but I just get the sense that they are a little more light of foot than LA was. Like Mike Trout is hurt. They had Ohtani, but you know what? Having Rendon has really screwed them. Like they've had a bunch of contracts. They've had a bunch of contracts beyond the Trout contract, beyond Ohtani, that just haven't worked out for them. They've made some bad personnel decisions. And you know what? This goes back to when Tony Regan's traded for Vernon Wells' contract.
Yeah.
Like this is something the Angels had that World Series, but they have consistently made bad investments in free agents and just made bad reads.
So you're saying
players.
Kansas City's got a much better organization?
I think Kansas City's got a better organization.
Yeah.
I also think, in fairness to LA, it's got to be hard to be in the same market as the Dodgers. Because there is, and I understand there's a geographical thing, Orange County. I get all that, but it's different than Kansas City, which is kind of out there. Kansas City and St. Louis, I guess, is closest to Kansas City. Mm-hmm. It's a little different market. Kansas City's ownership says we're going to be prudent, and Kansas City fans go, okay, you can't do that with the Angels. Like if you're going up against the Dodgers, you can't say, we're not actually going to we're not going to spend a lot of money to try to win and be sexy. We're going to try to out-analytics a team, or we're going to try to.
That's fair, yeah.
I don't think
you got to hit home runs when you're buying and with big-time contracts. Yeah. I just wonder. I wonder how you stay away from that with Bobby Witt Jr. It just seems like he is the next guy, right?
And you know what? They've also
the next Trout.
The other thing,
right? Doesn't he?
The other thing, the Angels have been chasing. They've had some good. They've been chasing. Houston's been in their division for a while.
Yeah.
Kansas City doesn't have that. I just think there's something about Bobby Witt feels a little different than Mike Trout. Watching Mike Trout play, you always kind of get the sense that he might get hurt because of the way he played.
Times at the games, too, right? It's very hard
and the body size and everything.
You don't see Mike as much. And
I don't get that as much with Bobby Witt. Anyhow, all right, that is it for us. We'll be doing Blue Jays talk tonight following the game. We'll be back Monday. Have a great weekend. It's been Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan and Sportsnet.